Flora Sage here, and I wanted to tell you about my new summer group coaching program called Moving Past Codependency. Now, I did a video about this last week, and some of you have asked, how do I know if I'm codependent? Well, I'm going to put a link below in the comments, but I do have a little bit of a little something that I'm going to share with you. So years ago, I was having lunch with one of my best girlfriends, and we were talking about relationship woes and all this other stuff. And as I was talking and sharing, she said to me, she's like, "You do realize you're codependent, right?" And I'm like, "What's that?" Now, granted, I'm a life coach, okay? But when I did my life coaching certifications, we just briefly touched on codependency. So I'm going, okay, so I looked up what is codependency and found this fabulous identifier sheet online. So I want to read to you some of the patterns and characteristics of codependency. There's 5 main areas where people can be codependent in their relationships. Now this impacts, being codependent impacts your life, it impacts your businesses, it impacts literally everything in your life. And when you address your codependency, what happens is all of a sudden you start to feel free from the bondage that is codependency. So the 5 characteristic patterns are denial patterns, low self-esteem patterns, compliance patterns, control patterns, and avoidance patterns. Hi everyone. So I want to read to you just a couple from each of the patterns, because like I said, after I did last week's video, I had several of you ask, well, how do I know if I'm codependent? So some of the denial patterns are that you have difficulty identifying what you're feeling. You minimize, alter, or deny how you truly feel. You perceive yourself as completely unselfish and dedicated to the well-being of others. Basically, you give until it's painful, and then you keep giving yourself even more. You don't recognize the unavailability of those people to whom you are attracted. So that is some of the denial patterns. Like I said, I'm going to post a link below so that you can check out the Am I Codependent handout to see if you are, codependent. And if you do identify as codependent, I would highly recommend that you join me for the summer group coaching program called Moving Past Codependency. So I'm going to share with you a couple of the low self-esteem patterns. So codependents often have difficulty making decisions. They judge what they think, say, or do so harshly as never good enough, are embarrassed to receive recognition, praise, or gifts, value others' approval of their thinking, feelings, and behavior over their own. They don't perceive themselves as lovable, or worthwhile persons. So that's just a couple of the low self-esteem. I'm only reading about a third of each of, well, actually not even, I'm probably reading about a 5th of each of these. Compliance patterns are, codependents are often extremely loyal, remaining in harmful situations too long. They compromise their own values and integrity to avoid rejection or anger. They put aside their own interests in order to do what others want, are hyper vigilant regarding the feelings of others and take on those feelings. Some control patterns are believe people are incapable of taking care of themselves, attempt to convince others what to think, do, or feel, freely offer advice and direction without being asked, become resentful when others decline their help or reject their advice. And lastly, I'm going to share with you just a couple avoidance patterns. Codependents often act in ways that invite others to reject, shame, or express anger towards them, judge harshly what others think, say, or do, avoid emotional, physical, or sexual intimacy as a way to maintain distance, allow addictions to people, places, and things to distract them from achieving intimacy in relationships, and pull people towards them, but when others get close, they push them away. So again, these are just a couple of the identifiers of what a codependent pattern and characteristics are. So again, Steve says, well, bloody hell, I guess I fit the profile. I thought it was only something that involved in relationships. No, Okay, that's just the thing. So many people think that codependency is only in relationships. It is not. It is this, I don't want to call it a disease. It's dis-ease. It's dis-ease in the physical body. It's dis-ease in our spiritual bodies as well. This thing that we call codependency literally impacts your entire life. And when I discovered that I was codependent several years ago, I finally, I was like, yes, because literally I had been in therapy for my marriages and my relationships pretty much since I got married the first time. So I got married in November of 1994 and was married to that person for 6 years, got a divorce, got married again, and I was only married for 4 months the second time, so I shouldn't even really count that, but whatever. We couldn't get it annulled, so, and then my third marriage was 8 years, and all 3 of those marriages, I was in marriage counseling and therapy asking, why is this relationship the way that it is? Why isn't it getting better? Why is there dysfunction? And nothing ever worked. Nothing that I tried ever worked. I was being counseled on how to more effectively communicate my needs and how to do this and how to do that. But the thing is that when you're in a codependent relationship or when you're in a codependent partnership, what happens is usually one person is overt and the other person is covert. So what do I mean by covert is, well, if somebody pisses me off, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to rock the boat. The other person, on the other hand, is usually the overt, which they're like, oh, hell no, I can't believe you just did that. I'm going to give you the silent treatment for 3 days because what you did pissed me off. They're very passive aggressive, very condescending. And so codependence, both sides of the spectrum are usually in a partnership together because those codependent partnerships actually meld perfectly together because you have the controller and then you have the one that's being controlled. And so, but the thing is you're also, this person who is quote unquote being controlled is also doing the controlling because you're not saying anything. And by not saying anything, you are manipulating the situation and controlling how the other person perceives you to feel and act and be. So, like I said, this is something, the wind is blowing all my paperwork. So this is something that can really have a big impact in your life. And, you know, like I said, relationships, they impact everything. They impact your business, they impact your money, they impact your health, your wealth, they impact your fitness, they impact how you eat. Oh my gosh, it impacts literally everything. And when I discovered that I was codependent, I realized, I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. And my friend is like, I've never seen anybody excited to be freaking codependent before. And I said, you don't understand. I have been through the ringer in my relationships, and I had been through so much therapy and so much counseling, and nothing has ever worked. And so this is finally, like literally, I was so done with relationships. I'm like, I'm not doing any more relationship stuff. I'm not doing any more relationship manifesting. I'm not going to do any more how-to books and any of that stuff until I get a different approach. Because what I was doing, aka the marriage counseling and therapy, was not helping my relationships. And so when I finally called bullshit on myself and I'm just like, okay, this is bullshit. I'm just going to stop everything and wait until I get a different directive from my peeps. And then hence I got the go ahead of, hey, you do realize you're codependent. And so when I realized that there was a different approach to relationships and a different approach to healing them in a completely different way, of course I was on board and of course I jumped on it. And the beautiful thing about Codependency Anonymous is that when I started to work the program, I started to work the steps, I saw a huge change in my personal self, in my confidence, in everything about me. But then I also stopped putting up with codependent behaviors from other people, and I called them on it, and I said, no, I am no longer willing to accept that. I'm no longer willing to be bullied. I'm no longer willing to be manipulated in this way. And I spoke my truth, and that pissed a lot of people off. And I'm like, you know what? That's not my problem. I'm not going to be a doormat any longer. And that gave me so much freedom, and I got rid of the skeletons in my closet. I shared about my affair that I had about 17 years ago with a very close friend's husband. I shared about all the bullshit that had been in my closet that I was so afraid would come out. And I'm like, fuck it, who cares? If it comes out, it comes out. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. And that was the thing, is that I was no longer willing to put up with the bullshit. I was no longer willing to not say anything, you know, because I was one of those people who I would say something once I got to that breaking point, you know. Shannon asked, can you be covert and overt, like at different times with different people? Absolutely. Yes, you can be. And well, how you can tell what you are doing and you know, what the dynamic is look at your intentions behind it. Look at your intentions on why you're giving this gift, or why you're saying this, or why you're saying that. If you're doing it to entice a reaction or response from someone in your favor, that is manipulation. That is being that overt and that covert type of manipulator and controller in your relationship. And so, like I said, you know, when I finally addressed the codependency, and I finally called myself on my bullshit and finally started to just speak up and went through the 12 steps, I finally found freedom. I finally found freedom from the bondage that was codependency, and didn't realize how much of an impact it was making on my business and how much of a big impact it was making in my personal life. Now, the people that I was codependent with were typically just the people that I were intimate with, and then my parents, because of course that was more, you know, that was your you know, parents. But my father died like 5 years ago. My mom died when I was 12. And so there was a little bit of codependency with my siblings, but, you know, and then my stepmother, huge codependency there. And, you know, when I finally addressed these things, literally, like I said, there was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and I finally felt this huge freedom. And that's one of the things that I want for you, is I want freedom for you in your life. I want freedom for you in your business, because again, when you have issues with your personal life, it impacts and creates a ripple effect that goes out into all of your life. I mean, all of the aspects and all the facets of your life. And so I can guarantee you also, is if you're codependent in your relationships, you're going to be codependent in some form or fashion in your business with your team members. If you normally don't say anything to your partner about something, you're probably not going to say something to team members if they do something the wrong way, not the way that you intend, or not the way that you want it to be. So this is a way for you to finally get your voice, and for you to finally say, no more, we need to address this. And so, like I said, I'm going to put a link below. If you identify as being codependent and you want to join the Moving Past Codependency Summer Group Coaching, then click link number 2 to join. So this is only, well actually, if you want to join, you do need to be a member of the Mastermind Mafia. So we have a 15-day sneak peek going on for $10. So click the link below, join the Mastermind Mafia. If you want to just jump full board and be a full-blown member, feel free. The summer group coaching is for 4 weeks. We will be starting it, let me look at my calendar. We will be starting it on May 16th. Which is next week, Wednesday. So if you want in the summer group coaching, Shannon says, I am all in, right? Steve says, no more relationship. That's where I'm at. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that most people swear off relationships because in the past they've been so codependent. But this is the thing, Steve, is that, and all of you, is that when you start to address your codependency and you heal from it, then you can have healthy relationships. You can go into a relationship without that codependent kind of back and forth, and you truly can heal. And it's just something, like I said, it's just, you finally feel free, and this huge weight is lifted off of you. So again, click link number 1. to check out this pamphlet to recognize and see if you are codependent, and click link number 2 to join the Mastermind Mafia so that you can participate in the summer group coaching program called Moving Past Codependency. All right, I love you all, and I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. If you have any questions whatsoever about this, please post your question in the comments below. Make sure that you tag me in so that I can answer any and all questions that you have about this. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.